All good?
Awesome.
Fab. How are we all feeling?
Good, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah? That delay.
So great.
Yeah. But it's a really good. It's a really good one. I think 3 minutes. We get the link up to places. And then it should be good. And it's a lovely day outside, you know?
I'm so glad to see rain.
Same.
Glad. So glad.
It really has.
Stepped outside, I felt like I could finally breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday's the first day in about a week and a half that I felt I could sit down and actually do some work and not feel like I'm dying doing it. We bless the Lord for the rain.
Bless the Lord. What is that thing from that show? Praise the Lord. All right.
Iceman is not going to be here at 6 o'clock, is he?
No, he's not.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I thought there was one missing.
But yeah, we'll be good to go otherwise.
Yeah, we're just getting the link out to the event page.
There we are.
Oh, fabulous. No, he's not.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hello.
Oh, he's here.
Brilliant.
Hey!
Oh, 1 minute to spare.
The nick of time.
Good time.
I'm here. My name's Spiceman again. Hold on, let me change it. I don't know why it just automatically does that.
Default? Is that the default go-to?
It must be. I don't even know how to change it.
You might have to keep it.
No, it's fine. I've changed it. It's good. How is everyone? Everyone's looking well?
Yeah.
Brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We've got about 20 seconds left before we get into the hard hitting stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. I think we are live as well.
Sick.
Brilliant. So any last minute shares on your socials, guys?
One more, add it to the list. Everyone's got nothing but GPG on my Instagram right now.
You're welcome. All right. It is now 6 p.m. So I think somehow we are on time and good to go.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Good evening, all, and welcome to Black Performers in the Arts, an event organised by Article 19 Theatre Company and Guild Musical Theatre Group, two of the largest theatre societies at the University of Birmingham. So I'm Ellie Lathbridge. I'm an incoming fourth year student and the press and publicity officer for the next academic year for GMTG, and I'm one of your chairs. I am joined by fellow student Will Atiomo, but I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey guys, I'm Will. I'm a philosophy student at the University of Birmingham, and I'm the press and publicity officer of Article 19. So the purpose of today is to basically have an informal conversation over the next hour to talk about what it's like to be a young Black actor in the industry today. So with our talented panelists, we'll be talking about some of their successes and some of the challenges which they've faced on their way up. But without going any further, I'd like to introduce our panelists. So we have Bethany Antonia, Hazel Karuma Brooker, Twain Barrett, and Alex Thomas Smith. If you guys wouldn't mind introducing yourselves.
Shall I start? Hello, I'm Hazel. I've been dancing since I was about 4, singing since I was about 9. So it's in my blood. I went to the Brighton Academy for 3 years, did a musical theatre diploma, and I graduated in 2019 and went straight into doing Six the Musical on the Norwegian Bliss.
Awesome. Beth?
Hello everyone, I'm Bethany Antonia. I've been acting since I was 14 and I'm currently in a TV show called Get Even, which is on BBC iPlayer and Netflix, and I play a character called Margot Rivers. And I didn't go to drama school. I got an agent when I was 14 and have just been working ever since.
Nice. Twain.
Hey everyone, I'm Twain. I'm an actor. I graduated in the end of 2017. So I've been in the industry just, I think, over 2 years, and studied at Brit School between 16 to 18, and then went to Mount View Academy of Theatre Arts between 2014 till 2017.
Cool. And Alex?
Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I started doing TV when I was 11, and then I went to Arts Ed when I was 18 and did musical theatre. Graduated in 2016, and I've just worked in the West End ever since, and some TV stuff in between.
Nice. Awesome. So over the next hour or so, we asked you to submit some questions over the last few weeks. So we'll be asking that to the panel. But the question link is still live. So if you have any questions during the conversation, feel free to ping them through. But to start things off, I wanted to ask each of you respectively how you got into the arts and what drew you towards them. Should we start with Beth?
Yeah, with me. So I had always just had this buzz for acting that I didn't really know what to do with or where it had come from. I just used to watch television programs and like recreate them, and I thought that that's what everyone else was doing, that was the normal thing. And then I realized that there were children in the TV programs that I was watching, and I just one day decided that I wanted to do what they were doing. So me and my mum googled like how to be an actor, and I found a television workshop in Birmingham called the First Act Television Workshop, and I went there when I was 14. And it was also like a training and casting ground, so we would get auditions for things that were casting in the area. And I had my first audition for a short film, and I got the part and got the buzz. And then I just wanted to carry on doing it. And everyone was sort of telling me that I had to wait until I was 18 and go to drama school, and then would graduate at 21 and then would start maybe working. And I was just really impatient. So I just decided to write to a bunch of agents at 14 and hope that I got one. And I did, and I got an agent. And then I've been working ever since.
Nice. Dwayne?
My story is I was at Catholic school, secondary school, and I didn't want to do a language. So I thought, what subject can I do that substitutes doing languages? And then I ended up choosing acting. And during that, I found a place called Half Moon, which is like a young people's theatre. It's in Limehouse, and just found myself doing that and kind of enjoying it and being like, oh, I like being someone other than me. It's nice. And then through that, applied for the Brit School. Thanks be to God, I got in. And then whilst I was at Brit School, had no idea what drama school was, and found my way to get into drama school through Brit School. So I think I auditioned for 6 schools because it's very expensive. I wasn't really working at the time, so I had to beg my mum. So my mum put a lot of sacrifice into it, and yeah, got into drama school. And yeah, I think that became, when I graduated, coming into the industry became a reality. So yeah, been good.
What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I started doing TV when I was little as well. Same as Beth, I was kind of like watching TV and I wanted to do it as well, but I didn't really realize at first. And I was watching like a lot of films that my mum watched, like older movies. And then there was like this film that she was watching about, it's called Con Air, about these like people that they're in a prison and then they take over the plane. And then I was like, oh, that's what I want to be. I was like, I want to be a criminal. And then I was like, as I got older, I realized I actually didn't want to be a criminal. I wanted to pretend to be a criminal. So I figured out I was going to be either a criminal or an actor. So, either one. But then I did TV when I was a kid, and then just had to like go through school and all that stuff, get it out of the way. Then when I was 18, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to drama school and get back into the arts. And then did 3 years at Arts Ed, and then just, got an agent from there, and then started working in town, and I've just been doing that ever since.
Nice. And finally, Hazel.
Well, I've been kind of singing and dancing since I was a kid, so that was something that I'd always been doing. but it wasn't until maybe 2010 that I started doing Amdram pantos where I was living in Uganda. And then I kind of caught the bug for musical theatre that way. And then we got to a point where we were like, okay, Hazel needs to go to sixth form. What do you want to do? And I was like, I want to sing, dance and act. And I literally Googled that and came up the Brit School. So we moved back home to the UK. I auditioned for the Brit School, had a terrible cold, didn't get in. But I ended up at another college where I did a BTEC in musical theatre. And through there, I also didn't know about drama college. I was like, after this BTEC, I'm going to go and be an actor. Didn't work out that way because they don't really tell you what to do. They're like, you must go to drama school. And so that's what I did. That's how I ended up also auditioning for a bunch of expensive schools and ended up at the Brighton Academy, which turned out to be the right place for me. Also the cheapest.
All right. So going off of all of that, how did you guys convince like your parents or your family to pursue a career in the arts? Because that's not always easy.
I think for me, it was it was easy for my family for me to do it because it got me away from being out on the road. So like, you know what I mean? Like my mum was more than happy. My mum was more than happy to see me doing something that would mean that I was away from people that I grew up with. Do you know what I mean? And in terms of like academically speaking, my whole family's been very supportive. As long as I'm happy, they were happy. Obviously, you know, making sure I passed exams without, you know, just crashing it. But I think for them, their main focus was making sure that I was firstly happy, secondly safe, and yeah, I think that was about it. That was their main concern. I've been very fortunate. Yeah.
Beth, what about you as a kid, seeing all these kids and saying to your mum, hey, I wanna do that?
Yeah, honestly, I feel so fortunate to have had the experience that I had, because I don't think I would be doing this if it wasn't for my mum. I ran down the stairs one day and was like, I want to be an actor. And she was like, okay, how do we do that then? And I was like, I don't know. And we sat for days and we Googled and we found these groups and these workshops and we kind of just like figured it out together. And she just up and would take me to any of these groups that I wanted to try out or that I wanted to go to. And she was just so supportive. And then obviously at 14 you can't travel, or you can, but like I wasn't traveling to London on my own for auditions. She took me to every audition, she drove me to every audition in Manchester, she came up until I was 18, she was by my side at every single audition. So I feel really, really lucky to have had that experience.
Oh, that's lovely. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, similar to me, I think. I have 3 sisters, and we all went to dance school as kids. So, one of my sisters was working in the West End as well. So it was kind of just like in the family. So it was kind of just like I was just like slotting in, but like, you know,
a legacy.
Yeah. So by the time I went to like Beth, I went to like an acting workshop. It's called ITV workshop. I don't know if it still exists anymore, but there was one in Nottingham and there was one where I lived in Leeds. Did you go to that one? You didn't go to that one. Oh,
the television workshop.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went there in Leeds and then got into TV that way. But it was kind of like, because all of my sisters were like in the arts and we were all like dancing and prancing around, it was kind of just like expected.
Yeah. And Hazel?
I've always had their like support as like an extracurricular thing. Like I've been sent to every activity under the sun, and dance was kind of my favorite. But my parents are still the kind, well, my mum in particular is the kind who's like, go to Oxford and get a law degree. And it wasn't until we got to GCSE level, I spectacularly failed my mocks. Because I'm just not that academic. My dyslexia is like, not today. And the stress of leading up to my GCSEs and the fact we thought that I was just going to fail them, we were like, yes, musical theatre might be the best way. And then I passed them all anyway. But by that point, we'd all been convinced that academics wasn't for me.
It's interesting you mentioned that, almost being tempted into doing a law degree first, because a lot of people feel as if they can't go straight into drama school. And I know that amongst you, well, Alex, Hazel, and Dwayne, you've all been to drama school, but Beth, you did the path separately. So it'd be interesting to hear what you took away from drama school and what you think can be learned by yourself and proactively.
I think the biggest things I learned at drama school wasn't anything to do with training or wasn't anything to do with like my skill set. Obviously you do work on that, but the biggest thing I learned was how to carry yourself in the industry. When I started working and in the arts, I found myself working with some people who hadn't trained, and they had a different mentality. And obviously because if you don't train, sometimes it can be like a learn on the go kind of thing. They just have a different mentality. But I feel like, not in a bad way, but I was just like, when I left, I was like, I had all this like idea of how I should be in the industry and how I should behave and how I should work and what I can expect from other people and what they can expect from me. And I think I learned that at drama school. So I was very fortunate for that. I think that's the biggest thing that I took away, other than the skills kind of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Dwayne, what do you think about
that? Yeah, I think it's similar to Alex. Like, I just found myself kind of fretting about where to apply what I'd learned at drama school in the industry, in the real world, and realized very soon that like these things that you learn are kind of like embedded somewhere, and you kind of learn from muscle memory. And also, I mean, like with the route that Beth took, I think is probably as much useful as it is going to drama school. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are some people who, personally for me, I benefited from doing drama school. I definitely wouldn't be in a position that I am today without drama school. But then there are some people who would benefit from not going to drama school. Do you know what I mean? And it's super expensive. And rather than wasting money into the system, you can use that money on yourself. And that in itself will help you within the industry find your way, without having to pay a system and learn specific things. And do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's been beneficial for me, but I understand and I know that there are some people who definitely benefited from not going as well.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. Like, I definitely attribute like the job that I got was because of the skill set that college helped me build. But I don't know. I think if you're that way inclined that you can find a way into the business yourself and you've got the work ethic to do it, then honestly skip out on drama school, kind of, because it's not to disrespect drama school, but it is, once you come out of it, you sort of learn that it is not brainwashing, but you kind of have to think how they think the whole time you're there, or otherwise it's a waste of money. And you get out and you realize that the world isn't entirely as college painted it, and so you do end up learning on the job anyway.
So in terms of kind of learning to think how people think, do changes need to be made in drama school, or is it just an accurate representation of the industry? And then if it is, do you have any survival tips?
I would say, in terms of survival tips, I would just say be 100% yourself and stick to it. I think when I was at drama school, because I'm short and I'm queer and I'm black and I'm all these things, it was kind of like they were kind of different for me, because I obviously did musical theatre, so it's different if you wanted to do, if you're doing acting or if you're doing screen acting. But when I was there, it was kind of just like you had to be, if you were a boy, obviously you're a boy in musical theatre, you have to be like tall and you have to be muscly. And I was like, I'm not going to be those things. But at college, it was such a huge stress for me, because I was like, I don't fit this like stereotypical like musical theatre boy who is just like going to be dancing around, like doing backflips, and like he's tall and he's muscly and he can sing, do all this. I was like, I don't fit these things. And at college, they were like really trying to like mold you into something. I was like, that's just not me. And I was really adamant that that wasn't me. And then when I left, I was kind of like, oh, and also they told me that I looked too young. They were like, they always told me at college how young I looked. And I was like, I know, but I can't change how young I look. They told me at college how it was such a bad thing. But then when I left drama school, it was kind of like, oh, there was like all this work for me because of how young I looked. And it was kind of like, once I left there, all those things that are me, like being young looking and being queer and being short and being black, that was me. And it was kind of like, there isn't just one thing that you need to be. You just need to know what you are and do it really well. So I would say, know who you are as like a person or as like a brand or an entity or whatever, and just do that really well.
Twain, what about you?
Yeah, going off of what Alex said, it's very easy to become, I think, brainwashed, because obviously, like, it's tough because you can't each teacher can't individually teach a student. Do you know what I mean? You're all learning the same thing together, and some things will work for you that won't work for others, and vice versa. Do you know what I mean? So, as Alex said, like, in moments like that, you need to find things that work for you, and even find things that don't work for you, and just apply them to whatever you're doing. Like, I had a massive argument with one of the teachers about actioning. I'm not a massive fan of actioning because I don't know. I won't go into detail, but there's something about it that irks me. I think it's good when you're. I think it's good when you're stuck, basically. But it kind of brings it one dimensionally, I think. And she had a massive go at me because, you know, she's teaching actioning, and I was very adamant, being like, yeah, I'm obviously going to learn, but I'm not going to use it because it's not for me. And I feel like you really, as Alex said, you really got to stick with yourself. You got to be your biggest fan and understand that however you feel about a situation is what's most important. Do you know what I mean? And with that being said, like, obviously, don't be the person to like be very dismissive to everything. Like, still take everything on board, but understand and know what's good for you and what doesn't work for you. Yeah.
Hazel, what about you?
Yeah, kind of adding on to that last point of like, don't be dismissive of like everything. If you want to, especially if you want to survive college, try everything, because they're gonna make you do it, so you might as well try. And then eventually you'll get 2 years down the line and you'll be like, you know, that acting skill doesn't work for me, or that form of teaching, being shouted at, doesn't work for me. And you acknowledge what does and doesn't work for you, and then you kind of put those things aside and you let them happen to you, but you don't let them affect you, I think would be something, especially in surviving college, because it is brutal.
So following on from college, one of the questions we got is how you guys navigate the world of auditioning, being in the room to being out of work. How do you guys try and wrap your heads around the auditioning process?
You wanna go, Bethany?
Yeah, I think the first thing to talk about is that every single process is completely different. So I would say the first thing to do is to stop trying to figure out what the process is, because there isn't one. When I first started out, I was trying to figure out like how many weeks it would be from audition to recall to chemistry read, or I would try and figure out like how many days, or like what day I would hear back on, or how, when they'd made the decision. And you literally never know, because for every single role, for every single type of job, is completely different. The theatre process is massively different to the TV process, which is different to the film process. So I think the first thing to do for auditions is to just stop thinking about the logistics and think about the work and the character and the art of it, rather than when you're going to be moving to Belfast to film the show, you know, because you get so wrapped up in the actual logistics of the job that you end up sometimes spending more time on that than you do on the audition. And that's a mistake that I've made personally over and over and over again. So that would be my first thing. And then when it comes to auditions, I think you just have to, some texts are going to work and some aren't. You're going to get auditions through and characters through that don't always fit you, especially as a Black actor, as an actor of colour in this industry. That's going to be something that happens to you over and over and over again. And I think you have to just take that and see the role and kind of know the roles that are good for you and the roles that aren't. And if you get an audition through that you don't feel fits you, go in anyway and do it, because it's a chance to meet the casting director. They're going to get to know you. They're going to see that you've done a great job on a text that was never meant for you anyway, but you've gone in and you've done a really good job. And then the next time they're casting something else, they might call you in for a role because you did a really good job in that audition. So I would try to just take every audition as an opportunity to act, as opposed to a chance to get a job and move somewhere and get this great experience. Just try and focus on each individual character.
Definitely. There's a quote from Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad, which I really like. He does like a YouTube interview where he says, go into the audition room doing the job, not trying to get the job. And yeah, what you said is so important about realizing that it's out of control half the time. So control what you can and put that out. But auditioning though, I'd really like to find out what the process was like for Get Even, how you prepared for that role in the audition and how long that took.
Yeah, so Get Even was actually quite a quick turnaround of audition process. So I had my audition, or initial audition, in the May, and it was just, I had a couple of sides. I didn't get sent the scripts for the episode. I just got sent a couple of scenes, and I went in, and it was an in-the-room audition with the casting director's assistant. And then around 2 or 3 weeks later, I got invited to a recall to go back in, and that was with director, the director, and the producer, and it was a longer audition. It was about half an hour. I did the same scenes again, and then a week later I got invited to a chemistry read where I went in and I met with the boy who was playing my character's best friend, and then the other 3 girls of DGM, the other 3 leads, and that was kind of like a half day thing. We just were in and out, swapping and changing, in and out, and then I got offered the role 2 days before the read through and moved to Manchester 2 days later. And we were filming. I got offered the role on the Tuesday. We moved to Manchester for the read through on the Thursday, and we started filming on the Monday. And then we filmed for 3 months in Bolton.
That's mad.
Yeah, it was crazy.
you said 3 weeks though. Like for me, I feel like that's long to wait for recall. So it's funny you said that at the beginning when you were talking about, like when you're talking about like forgetting about like how long it takes and all this stuff. I feel like I'm so impatient sometimes. I do an audition on a Monday, on a Tuesday, I'm like, so
God, I'm like, it's fun. Literally, I'll go in, I'll like send a tape on Monday. By Wednesday, I'm texting peers like, any news? No, but for real, it was quite a long time. But then after that, it was like boom, 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 move to Manchester straight away. Wow. So that is one thing I would say, actually, like, don't discount yourself after a week. I used to think if I've not heard in a week, it's gone. And like every single day I'm learning more and more that is not the case. These like first rounds seem to be taking slightly longer now. And I think it's because of the rise of self-tapes. They're seeing more people. So back in the day, you might have like, you do an audition on the Monday, by that Friday, you'd know if it'd gone your way or not, or if you'd got a recall. And now it seems to be taking a lot longer to get through first round. Awesome.
One of the other questions we got, Twain, was obviously you guys have all managed to get through that audition process. For you specifically, it was about what your work has been like on high budget sets. So, you've done Spider-Man and, David Copperfield, compared to, smaller indie films like The Last Tree. Can't be called Police Story a small indie film, but, smaller sets comparatively.
Yeah. I think there's pressure on both, like in terms of the big budget films, knowing that they're big budget, you're kind of like nervous to mess up when you're on set, especially if you know you don't have a lot of time. And I don't know, I feel like because there's so much more people around you, you feel like it's your duty to make sure that you're on it. Obviously, you're meant to be on it all the time, but I feel like there's a hidden responsibility that isn't necessarily on your shoulders with the smaller indie films. And because I think with the like big budget films, yes, like it's a family, but I think with the indie films, it's definitely more personal, because a lot of the time they are real stories or real thoughts from the director, from the writer, and you want to handle it with care. Do you know what I mean? Right. So I don't know. Like I enjoy all of them, but I would say that there's definitely a deeper sense of kind of what's the right word for it? There's a deeper sense of community with the smaller budget films and the indie films, because not a lot of people on set, and I don't know. It's a really good question. It's throwing me off.
So you wouldn't say you have a preference?
No. I feel like if I said a preference now, people watching be like, okay. We're gonna make sure we only put you up for that. But I don't know, because it also depends on on the film. Like when I worked on Spider-Man, that was with my best friend, so I didn't feel much pressure at all. And then working on David Copperfield, I had so much pressure because I had no idea. I mean, I knew who these people were, but I didn't know them personally. So I was very nervous, very, very nervous. And yeah, I mean, they do say that this is an industry about who you know, not what you know, more time. So I feel like that definitely played a part. But yeah, no preferences. I love them all. I think Last Tree is probably my favorite thing to work on because I got to drive. That's why, yeah, that's probably my favorite thing. Yeah.
Speaking of differences and preferences, so for those that have done kind of film and TV as well as theatre, what are the differences between like those two branches, and do you have a preference? Don't wanna get it baited, but do you?
For hours. When I was filming, it was like 7 like 7 in the morning till 7 at night. At least when you're in a show in town, you can rock up at 6, you can do the show, and then you can split. But when you're filming, obviously I love filming and I love being on a TV set and stuff like that. But honestly, when I got that call sheet and I was like 7, I was like, that's 12 hours. That's the whole thing. And then you get home at like, I don't know, you get home at 8 o'clock and you have to learn your sides for the next day and then go to sleep because your car's coming at 6. So the hours are poor, I tell you. And one time when I was doing a show in town, I was doing Motown at night, but I was filming something during the day. So I was doing 7, 5, and then leaving, getting to the theater, doing the show, and then going home and sleeping, and then doing the TV stuff. So I definitely recommend not doing them both at the same time. But,
a lot.
But I think for me personally, TV, the hours, I don't know how you'll do it more than theatre because it's so long.
Anyone else?
I think with film, as Alex said, it's very long hours, but also because it's so sporadic when you're filming, it's like you're using like short bursts of energy, like brr, 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 and it's like that's more tiring than being on stage for like 2 to 3 hours, because it's a continuous thing, and it's a live audience as well. And I think for me, being able to feed off audiences' reactions is always a nice feeling, even if it isn't positive. Do you know what I mean? Even like with Barbershop, there's so many things that when we did it in Australia, a lot of white people hated. They hated it, and we loved it because we loved it because it's like, I mean, we're telling the truth, we're teaching, and that's what it is, isn't it? We're storytellers, and yeah, I just love telling people the truth. It's great.
Speaking of theatre specifically, Hazel, you just came off from doing 6 on a tour with the cruise. So could you talk about your experience in landing that and what the rehearsal process was like for that?
Yeah, sure. It was kind of a rushed but long process at the same time. Auditions wise, we started auditions in late April last year, waited 2 weeks after the initial audition for a recall, and then we had 3 recalls within the same week, like a day, miss a day, then 2 like workshop days. And then we waited about 5 days and heard back after that. So with Norwegian, they do a thing called Rehearsal Swings, which is where you'll have the cast of the 6 girls, the 2 swings who go on board, and then you have 2 rehearsal swings who come on and learn about 3 roles each. And basically, if somebody, I don't know, breaks a leg and suddenly they've lost an actor, they can call in one of the rehearsal swings. So that was initially what I got offered. And then we had to rush through the medical process because there was a whole rush thing going on with that show at that point. And I got called in for an additional audition for Aragon and Berlin. And that day I got offered the second ship for Berlin. And then about 2 weeks after that, I was on holiday and I got a call from my agent saying the girl who was playing Berlin on the Bliss, which is the ship I ended up on, failed her medical. So I ended up on that ship by chance. And it just happens like that. I don't know how. It was the part that I wanted.
Look at God.
That's so good. That's so
That
good.
did not happen by accident.
Yeah, and it shows also, like, I don't know, I think there's an element of like, stay humble, don't like try and fly above your station. Like, I was still in college when I was auditioning, and obviously I really wanted a part. So when I got rehearsal swing through, initially I was really upset because I wanted a part, and then I kind of discussed it with my mum, and we started to see it as a blessing. That like I had an opportunity to learn the show without any pressure and then potentially get offered later. And then I ended up the part that I wanted anyway. And then the rehearsal period is 4 weeks. You fly to Florida. We rehearsed we had lots of associate directors in my production. We had Lucy for a week, who's one of the writers, if anybody isn't aware. We had her for a week. And the rehearsals, this is where college lied to me. They were doing their best to build a thick skin, but I got in and I was so scared I was going to get fired like 90% of the time. And they were so lovely. They're ridiculously nice. Like I was having some vocal issues at the time and they're so nice to you. So that's, I don't know, kind of comforting to know if anyone's going, like graduating and is scared. Like not everybody is horrible. And the experiences don't have to be as traumatic as college makes them out to be. And then once you get onto the ship, we had a 2-week rehearsal, which was like tech every day for 2 weeks. And then you, after all that, you do 2 shows each night, and we were doing 2 shows in a row. So we teched for 2 weeks, and then we did crew show 11:30 p.m. one night. The next day we did a 4:30 p.m. show and a 10:30 show, and then the day after that we had 2 more shows. So they work you to the bone those first 6-7 weeks.
Right. Wait, Six is one of those shows that is known for featuring a lot of women of color, especially in taking really diverse influences. So this is more of a general question, but how do we feel about the industry's response to casting diversity? And then, like the backlash to, such as, the whole hashtag Vavavoom situation that happened a little while back.
I'm a huge how can I put this? I think I'm a huge advocate for, I don't want diversity, I want equality. And I think that the biggest problem within the arts is that not getting into backlash or anything like that, but I think the biggest problem that I face is we'll throw a few Black performers in, be the face of the show and be like, look how diverse we have, like 3 Black people out of the 25 company, look how diverse we are. But if your entire crew, wardrobe, makeup, if every other department is a completely white team, what's the point? I feel like we're not pawns that you can use to show people how diverse you are, and the rest of your company is all white people. So I feel like diversity is a real thing for me, where I'm always just like, because I don't want it. I don't want to be in a show but so I can be like, oh, I'm the person of color because the company want to show how diverse they are. So I think for me it's a tricky one, and I said that to my producers of the show that I'm in now. I was like, I don't care about how much money you're donating to charities. I don't care about how much, how many Black people you're going to hire in the future in the cast. I was like, make those changes in management, make them in production, make them elsewhere. I think that's where we need to go moving forward.
And another thing about like being the pawn in the game of chess that is theatre, I don't know, is that like you get cast and you're like one of very few people of color in the cast, but actually because the system in place that has you there is so whitewashed, they don't make an effort to learn about what is offensive, what is racist, what just isn't right, what's insensitive. And so you end up in a situation where you're hugely outnumbered, and you're dealing with racist situations. But in musical theatre, it's like one step in the wrong direction and you're out. So you're like keeping your mouth shut, when actually what we need is some like solidarity, more than just 3 people in a cast of 25, so that we can pull together and teach people that being racist ain't it, sis.
Definitely. No, definitely. Following on from that as well, it's funny, we've got a question directed to all of you about what your experiences have been with hair and makeup within that, say, predominantly white space, and how you go about dealing with that.
Oh no, you
yeah.
go.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say, very early on, I quickly realized that sometimes you're gonna get to set and they're not gonna have anything that's there for your hair, and you're gonna have to do it yourself. And I remember my first ever job. So I'd started at 14, I'd done bits and bobs, and at 18 I got my first screen job, and I like ran into the set and I was so excited. And you get the call the night before of hair and makeup, like, come in the morning. And I got there and I'd done nothing. I'd gone barefaced. I'd left my hair. I just washed my hair. It was out in a fro, and they went, "Yeah, we think you look great. You're good to go." And I was like, "Pardon? What do you mean?" And they were like, "Yeah, you're good. You're done." And I was baffled. And then in walked the girl who was like across me in the episode, and she was white and she had like long hair, and she was in the chair for half an hour getting her face done, her hair was curled. And then there was another girl in the episode who was black, and she had like wavy hair, and she kind of got her hair in a ponytail, and that was it, and it was done. And I quickly realized that the difference of treatment, the way that you're going to be received when you walk into a makeup room. And then kind of on from that all the way through, I've had experiences of just being left in the makeup chair. They don't know what to do. They don't have any products for your hair. And then I had a really nice experience. I did a film called Pincushion, and the hair and makeup lady was really, really excited about my hair and wanted to put it in all these cool styles, and had done her research. She knew that she'd got a black actor in the film and wanted to make her character look great. And so that one experience kind of saved the day, because up until that point I had no hope in hair and makeup teams at all. And then on Get Even, I decided from the audition process that if I got the role, she was going to have an afro, because why wouldn't she have an afro? And I was adamant about that. And we got every audition, I wore my hair, it was bigger and bigger and bigger, just until they would accept that if I got the role, she was going to have natural hair. And I went in, and I won't lie, I was really scared that I was going to get there and it was going to be an experience of them not having a clue. And luckily for me, the whole team had prepared themselves and they were willing to learn about all these different styles. But still, in 8 years almost of working, I've yet to have a black hair or makeup lady or man at all in my whole career. And I don't think that that's right. And you shouldn't have to feel on edge. Every time I go into the makeup shop, I'm on edge. I'm nervous. I'm panicking. I'm like, oh my God, are they going to have the right foundation for me? Are they going to have this? Are they going to have that? And sometimes you want to just feel a bit more at ease when you're going to work. You don't want to have to feel like you're the awkward person in the room asking for something that's more than they can give you. And there's willingness to learn, which they all have. They don't all have, but most of them have. And there's like, on top of that, there's actually having experience with this hair that you've grown up with your entire life. And sometimes I think it would just be nice to have a mix in the hair and makeup trucks, so that if there's a problem and we've got a quick scene change, you can just dip in, fix my hair, and we can go. And I haven't got to be on Google Images like looking for styles that you can do. That's how I feel.
That's the thing, like you see in real life how many black hairstylists there are, how many black makeup artists there are, why are they not in the tracks? Do you know what I mean? And I think honestly, since I've been in the industry, I have met one black hair and makeup artist, and that was on Cursed, the Netflix show. Yeah, one. Her name's Sim. She's amazing. Like I think she works constantly, but it's like there should be more of Sims. Do you know what I mean? Like there are more Sims that just aren't.
The same thing as that. Like it's great that there are black makeup artists and hairstylists, but also at the same time, the white ones should know how to do both, like black hair and black makeup, because it's just like, if you're a hair and makeup artist, how can you only know how to do one type of hair? You should know how to do everything. So where we definitely do need more black hair and makeup artists, we also need the white hair and makeup artists to step up and be like, and do the research and do the work.
Like exactly, like I'm with that. Like that being said, I am very much happy. Like I've gone on shows before where I've had to have my hair low, and I'm very happy because a lot of the time I've been given money to go to the barbers because I don't trust white people with my hair. Like period. So for me, I would personally, like, I've always asked, may I have X amount of money to go to my barbers, and I'll make sure that every single time, you know what I mean, I'm going there. So yeah, but we need more of us, man. Like, I mean, yeah, we need them to learn.
Yeah, every job I've done where I've had to have my own hair, I've got money and then I've reimbursed it or whatever. But sometimes they're like, we need a receipt. And I'm like, I'm going to a black barber. He ain't going to give me a receipt. And it's like, why should I have to go out of my way to go across town to get a haircut, to pay my money, to then get money back when everyone else can just walk into work and get their haircut? Like, it's just not good enough, I don't think.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've like experienced, and I've only sort of clocked it since I've left the job, but natural hair is especially if you've got long hair, is really hard to maintain. And not only that, it takes effort, but it takes a lot of product, and I'm spending God knows how much per month on putting product in my hair so that I can have a natural hairstyle for the show that I'm in, but I'm not getting any reimbursement for that when my hair is costing X amount of money so I can have it in this style, whereas it would be significantly cheaper for me to do something like this and keep my hair in that style, and they can pay for every time it has to be done every 2 or whatever months. I don't know, it was something I was like,
Yeah, see, that's quite interesting, because I know with your Amber Lynn, you were one of the only ones that didn't have the buns, right? So they probably thought that they were being really, really super progressive, like on it, like, yeah, cool, let's give her a natural hairstyle. But it's the lack of knowledge, right?
Yeah, it's definitely like the lack of awareness of what goes into maintaining an afro. This hair is sensitive, and the second you stick her on a ship, for anyone who's never been on a ship before, that water is dry. If you've never experienced dry water before, you will. It's dry, and it completely sucks the life out of your hair. So add more money onto that list. There's a complete lack of like awareness of maintaining black hair, and I think I'm one of the few actors with predominantly afro hair who hasn't been given the option to be wigged, which I think would have saved my hair if I would have been able to, I don't know, shave it off, whack it in cornrows, whatever, and it would have been able to maintain my hair for less money for myself. And it meant that wig would have been styled by a wig stylist who knows what they're doing, and I will always look the same for the show. Whereas I was constantly getting notes, because you can't really control afro hair. Some days it's going to be curly. Some days it's going to be stretched. Why? I don't know. But I would sometimes be getting criticism like, your hair needs to be a bit longer today. And I'd be like, I can't do that. I don't have a magic wand.
Yeah, sure, let me just...
That's one thing I would actually say is really important. Like, have, to anyone that's watching, have awareness of like your own appearance. Don't go into it naively thinking that they're gonna like have your back, because they don't. A lot of the time they have no awareness of what your hair is supposed to look like, or what is good and what is bad. They just see your hair, and if it's if there's no bit sticking out, then it's great. And like, you have to go, you're the one that's gonna have to go onto set, or gonna have to go onto stage, and it's your image that's gonna be shared. So don't be hesitant to like question it and to say, well, no, I'm not happy with that, or no, that's not how I would wear it, or I don't think this is right for the character. Don't just let them like put you into a situation where you feel like that's what the look has to be, and then regret it when you see it on telly a year later.
Yeah. So we have a question that is aimed specifically at Hazel. So you have vitiligo. Have you faced any challenges navigating the industry being a Black woman with kind of whiter skin?
A couple of things. A main challenge was like how I identify, because most people with vitiligo is something like 1% of the world has vitiligo, so it's quite common. But because I fully transitioned, my skin is now completely white. It was an identity crisis, because halfway through college I was told by somebody who didn't know anything about Hamilton, you can't be in Hamilton because all the leads are played by Black people, which was confusing for me because I'm half Black, so surely I fit right into that. And that became then an identity crisis. There's also another thing I've came up with, which is Black voice, which is, as a Black musical theatre performer and a singer, there's sort of an expectation of like, your voice is going to be this style. And that's, I think that mentality, which is like really seeped into me over the years I was at college, and is only just, the repercussions of that are really rearing its head now. Like, I don't have whatever Black voice is. I don't sound like Aretha Franklin. God, I would love to, but that's I don't know, maybe that's just a general experience. But for me, like, as somebody who has faced obstacles because of the color of my skin, but yet my heritage, that's been a combination of very confusing for me and confusing for people who look at me and they don't know what to do with me. I've definitely had a case of, like, we had agent panel days, and that's not to say that I feel entitled to being offered from a particular agent, but, you know, people came in and looked at me and were confused and didn't know what to do with me at all, and were like, we'll just leave that one over there. Not to my face by any means, and like, I don't feel entitled to that agency or whatever, but it is a thing of like, people don't know what they're looking at, so instead of trying to understand it, they just run in the other direction
because you don't fit into the Black box effectively.
Yeah.
So you said identity issues. Has anyone else faced the kind of identity issues? I mean, I know personally, just doing Amdram, that I've had the whole Black voice thing, but has anyone else faced that as well?
I think definitely as a, oh, sorry, Bethany, you go.
No, you go. Honestly, you go.
Well, I was just going to say, as a mixed race person, it's sometimes people are like, well, you're not Black enough to play the Black roles, and you're not white, so you can't play the white roles. And it's like, well, and sometimes it's that's projected there, that in like internalized racism gets projected onto you, because then you're kind of just like, well, should I try and act more Black so I can be in these rooms, or should I try and, do you know what I mean? So that's sometimes gets like a forced mentality of just like not knowing where you should be trying to focus on, but not anymore. Now I'm just like,
yeah, for me too, it was the same. My heritage, so I am 3/4 Black, 1/4 white, so I have always had the not quite Black enough for the Black roles, but like not considered mixed race, because when they think mixed race, they think very light. And I walk into the room with this skin color and this hair, and they go, oh. And I find that if it's like something that's casting like a family, so they have like a white mum and a Black dad, and they want the mixed race child, I don't fit into that box. There's a very specific look that they used to look for, and that was never me. And so when I was younger, that definitely gave me like a complex, because I would go into these rooms and I would see all these girls that looked the same, and I would be there and I would be like, why am I in this room? But then I would go into the Black auditions and I wouldn't look like them either. So it definitely gave me like a thing that I always used to think about. But again, now I'm just like, well, I'm here, so you're either going to cast me or you're not. So like, there's no point thinking about it. And that's the thing, you can't change it. You cannot do anything about your appearance, and you can spend 5 years fretting about it, comparing yourself to everyone else in the room. But at the end of the day, you're either going to book it or you're not. And all you can control is the lines that you learn and the tape that you send or the audition that you do. So I would just say, try and forget about everything else.
Definitely. This question is directed to Wayne. So you've been part of both Barbershop and Blue Story, both two pieces of art which have been very pivotal in terms of representation, specifically in the UK. And the question was how you felt about the cinema ban in Blue Story.
Yeah, the cinema ban, it's funny because we have a group chat, and we were talking, like, people were getting angry about the whole situation and other people seeing it as a blessing in disguise, and that's exactly how I saw it. I think, like, first and foremost, it wasn't even Blue Story. I think it was like Frozen 2, where it was, you know what I mean, people doing a madness. But that's what always happens. Like, the moment that they have a chance to put something black in there, they'll do it. Do you know what I mean? The media will do it. However, if anything, it backfired on them because it only made Blue Story more successful, and it had people who would never have thought to have watched a film like Blue Story talking about it, going to see it. I think I said to you guys yesterday, it was on like LBC radio, and that's like probably one of the whitest radios I've heard in my life. Do you know what I mean? It's got people like Nigel Farage on there. And to have Blue Story being spoken about on the radio station like that, like, that's a win. That has to be a win. And same thing, similar to Barbershop, we went to, obviously, Australia, which is, colonizers. We went to America. We went to America where, it was sad because we spent a little bit of time in Washington, DC, which I didn't know, but it's very, very black. Like, there are a lot of black folk, and I love it. But we spent 1 week there, and then we spent 5 weeks in Boston, which is two completely different areas. And that was tough. Like, those 5 weeks were tough. However, what definitely brought us through together was telling people who had no idea about everything in Africa, in the UK, to do with black people. It was teaching them what it is to be black, what it is to be a black man, what it is to be a black man without a father, which I know a lot of us don't have. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know, I personally enjoy telling stories to people that wouldn't necessarily know what was going on, because they're oblivious, because they're ignorant. But yeah, I just enjoy just telling people how it is. Yeah, it goes back to Australia. Like, Australia, I can say this was heavily racist, like, so racist I can't even explain. I don't want to explain it on here, but to have a show like Barbershop Chronicles in Australia, powerful, because it just, a lot of people that came had no idea what it was about. They're like, oh, barbershop. I'm not gonna do the accent, but they're like, oh, Barbershop Quartet. It's gonna be a musical. Like, nah.
What Australian state were you in, Dwayne?
I was in Sydney, which is okay. We had a lot of people showed up. A lot of Ethiopian and Eritreans live out there, which is nice to see. Perth, which is nuts. I think we had one show where there were black people. Other than that, it was very much white. And then we went to New Zealand, which is obviously completely different. Like, New Zealand is beautiful, and I think in New Zealand they respect the tribes there and the culture. So Maori is the biggest tribe there, and it's their land, and it's known to be their land. Whereas the indigenous people of Australia just been treated like absolute rubbish. And yeah, it was tough being there, but nice nice to bring a show like that to a country like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This next question is directed towards you, Alex. So somebody asked whether or not you find, because you're a very keen LGBT activist, whether or not your activism feeds into the stories you like to tell or the work you choose.
Oh, 100%, especially more now. When I first left drama school, obviously I wasn't in a position where I could like, not pick and choose, but I wasn't in a position where I could like say what I wanted to do, because I feel like when you leave drama school, you just want to work. You just want to be in stuff, and like you see your friends doing stuff and you see the year above you going into stuff. So like my dream when I left drama school, I literally just wanted to be in something. But then once I started doing shows, actually the first like role that I got in the West End was like a young, like non-binary queer role. And it was like, yeah, it was amazing, because it also like took me on a like journey of self-discovery. Like I feel like whenever you spend that much time like developing a character, when it's something that's so similar to you as a person, you can either go towards the character or bring the character towards yourself. And I feel like you go on such a journey, not just with that character, but obviously within yourself. So that was like a huge turning point for me in terms of the stories I wanted to tell. And then when I left that and doing Dear Evan Hansen is another thing, but I'm definitely in a position now where like I said to my agent, I was like, these are the stories I want to tell, like queer stories, Black queer stories. When I'm going in for like TV stuff, like I want it to be stuff that is important, and that obviously I want to be in for everything else, but I want to tell queer stories because queer stories need to be told by queer people. So I find that's really important to me, especially in terms of my activism. And I feel like also leading into how my activism kind of plays within the industry, I think before I'm the activist I am now. I wasn't that maybe when I left drama school or when I was at drama school. Because obviously the world has progressed and everything we learn and more, and obviously as you grow up as well. I was only like 21 when I left drama school or something like that. But also I feel like now, not, obviously not sounding like a knobhead, but once you've done like a couple of jobs and people who work in the industry know who you are, that's when I was like, okay, now I'm at a place where I can speak out about things and I won't get into as much trouble as if I did when I was like brand new. Because when you're brand new, people are like, who is this person who's trying to like speak about controversial issues? But now I'm like, I've got nothing to lose, because my people, our community, we've already lost the job for being too gay. We've already lost the job for being too Black, but now we're losing our lives. So it's like, I've got nothing to lose. So I'm going to speak out about stuff because,
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Speaking of kind of going through like change, transitioning from perhaps going from not being so like outspoken to being more outspoken. Hazel, so you lived in Uganda for a while, didn't you? How was it coming from kind of the Ugandan art scene to London?
Well, I think when I was in the Ugandan art scene, I was really young. And also there's a thing of like, if you're in a like an expat family in an expat kind of area, like you're not really in, I don't know, it's kind of complicated. You're not really truly in the Ugandan scene, because there's an element of like, white people band together. Do you know what I mean? People from different countries band together. So there's like an element of that, but I don't know, I was doing like Amdram Pantos, and that was really the first sort of like what we consider like Western theatre coming to Uganda. They don't really get a whole lot of that. So it was nice to bring that. And in terms of transitioning to the UK, I don't know, it was kind of my introduction to musical theatre, like I said earlier. Like I didn't really know what musical theatre was. So for me, it was really a gateway. And I was so lucky to have it, because it could have been the case that we weren't involved in Amdram theatre in Uganda, and I would have ended up doing, I don't know what else I would have ended up doing. I'm not very good at everything else. This is it. But you know, it was really a gateway for me, and coming here and discovering drama schools and musical theatre and musicals. Up until that point, I'd never seen a live musical. So yeah, the transition was
Yeah.
Awesome. We're reaching the end of our time, so we're only going to have time for one more question. But I think I just wanted to say personally, this event, for as much as we talk about the hardships we face, I'm so grateful to have all of you guys as examples of what is possible for the Black community. And this question kind of feeds onto that. It just asks each of you individually what the highlight has been of your career. It's a tough one.
For me, the highlight of my career thus far is it's weird to say, but finishing drama school. Yeah, just mainly because of all the hardships it kind of brought and the obstacles. Yeah, I found myself being like in a very like weird place with like it. I mean, I'm pretty sure all of us have had it, but we just like ask ourselves every now and again, like, am I meant to be doing this? Do you know what I mean? And I found myself asking that a lot during drama school, because it's easier said than done, but like, you know, you look at other people around you and you just kind of like, you just fall into the trap of comparing yourself. And I think ever since leaving drama school, I don't think I've done that once. So I think that from the step from drama school into the industry, that's been my biggest, I want to say, change in my life. And I definitely think that that's probably my proudest achievement thus far.
Go on, Twain.
Cheers, Alex. Thank you.
What about you, Alex?
I don't think mine's not I think my career highlight I think isn't I think it must be when I was in Motown, and obviously when you're in shows in town and stuff, like, you know, lots of great people come to see the shows, lots of different people. But for me personally, like, of all the people that we've ever met who have come to see the show, when we did there's something anniversary of Motown, and then the Jackson 5 came out, and none of us knew the Jackson 5 were there. Obviously sans Michael, and I, as like a kid, obviously the Jackson 5 were like, you know, like, I feel like as a Black kid, just like Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 were just like a staple. So and none of us knew either. Usually, like, when you're in a show and someone famous is in, they're like, oh, so-and-so's in, and you're like, oh, cool. But we didn't know. So then, like, at the end, when the thing stopped and then they walked out, and I was just like, those are the Jackson 5. So that was a career highlight, because I was just like, bro.
Yeah.
That's insane that they didn't tell you.
I know.
Oh my God.
Probably would have changed the whole show.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, because obviously we had a whole Jackson 5 sequence in the show. So I feel like if we'd known, then people would have been, it would have affected us. So they kept it real hush hush. But I feel like they're just like, I feel like when I was growing up, the Jackson 5, they weren't real people. They were just like you know, they were so famous. And then they came out in those, like, you know, those like Jackson 5 aviator glasses that they wear. And I was just like, I've never really been starstruck. Like, I've met a lot of great people, but wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's insane.
What about you?
I have to say, getting Margot in Get Even, purely because you wait so long to book, or I waited so long to book a series lead, and to get that moment of feeling like you're the core foundation of the show, and to play a character that I desperately needed to see on screen when I was younger, to see a Black girl with her natural hair doing things that I was doing at school, and she wasn't the sassy Black girl that I could never relate to. Getting to play a part like that on screen was just so important to me, and like finally getting that phone call after years of feeling like it would never happen was just like the highlight of my career so
I don't know, to kind of add to like the positive vibes to end it, like I have been really lucky that in all of the struggles and traumatic experiences I had, like going through college, because it is brutal, you know, I was at a place that really did like accept my diversity, and so I was really lucky to be able to play roles that I maybe probably wouldn't have played if I'd been at another college. So I wanted to put that positive one out there. I think the highlight of my career is maybe the day I chose one of my panel day songs. I was listening to Aretha Franklin's Think while on my bicycle on the way to college. And I was like, oh my God, I love this song. I haven't heard it in like 5 years. Wow, I love this song. And then I got to college, and one of the teachers, who's normally really strict and I don't usually get along with because I just don't do her style very well, she put on the song she was going to teach to, and it was Think, and I was like, oh my God. And then I was doing the routine and she loved me for it, so I was like, another sign. And then got up to the dressing room, and one of the girls was like, yeah, Hazel, you should sing that song. I don't know why, that like when signs all come together like that, that was one of my highlights.
Amazing. That's so good. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for, but I just want to say thank you to each of you so much for taking the time out for this. You've been amazing panelists, and yeah, keep on doing what you're doing.
Thanks to you.
Thank you
for organising.
Yeah,
for having us. Thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Will, honestly, and you guys are great. Thank you. It was awesome.
Pleasure.
Thanks so much, guys.
all right, well, hope we all stay safe and stay sane, and I think that is it for BPA 2020.
And with 22 minutes till curry, y'all.
Oh, 22 minutes of
Let's do it,
coronation street,
man.
exactly. Fab.
All right, lots of love,
All right.
everyone.
Great,
Right.
thanks.